going to start recording, so I don't forget that. And we'll do this, share. Okay. All right, guys, have your TA out ready to go. Show me your TA packets and your pencils ready to go. Everybody show me. Nice job, Angel. Thank you. Nice job, Faroud, Isaiah, Eliana, Scarlett, Isabella, show me your packet. Michael, great job. Byron, turn on your camera. All right, here we go. We're going to get started. Today's text is called Don't Close the Old Oak Theater. This text is what genre? How do you know? How are we going to frame our thinking? Isaiah, go ahead.
I think this is fiction because I see it's first person narrator because it says I'm and I, which shows that it has to be like a fiction text.
Okay, Joshua, tell me what you think.
I will agree with Isaiah because you could tell that this is fiction because you see like certain events happening, like problems and solutions.
Let's go ahead and read the first line. Everybody think when I read the first line. I'm hoping the city board doesn't close the Old Oak Theater. The title is Don't Close the Old Oak Theater. That doesn't sound to me like we're telling a story. That sounds to me like this is an article that's being written, asking someone, whoever the reader is or the audience, to not close this theater. So this is a persuasive text. This is like an essay that we've written in class. So we're not going to call this a story. Our annotations for our thinking jobs for a fiction text are just not going to work for this. So at the top of your text, you're going to write that this is a nonfiction text. We're going to be thinking about what is the author mostly teaching, but in terms of what are they trying to persuade people to do? And the point of view is going to be a huge point for us. So everybody jot that down now.
I'm just gonna randomly write.
Let's do this. Watch that. Maybe that'll work. NF, AFT, POV, what is the author's point of view? All right, here we go. Don't close the Old Oak Theater. I'm hoping the city board doesn't close the Old Oak Theater. It's the best theater in town. It's on Oak Street, right behind the library, and it has the most comfortable seats around. There are 6 different theaters. That means there's always a good movie playing. So right in the beginning, this author is sharing with us their big point of view and what their purpose is. They're showing us that they do not want us to close the Old Oak Theater. So they think that it's the best. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write on the side, don't close OT for Oak Theater. And I'm going to write the best. They think it's the best in town. All right, moving forward. I love it because you can really relax and enjoy yourself. You can really relax and enjoy yourself at the Old Oak Theater. For instance, there's a big popcorn combo. You get a large popcorn and a large drink for only $3. So the author's giving me a reason here for why that Old Oak Theater shouldn't go away. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add here great deals as a new annotation. Okay. What a bargain. You even get free refills on your drink. The theater shows fun previews before each movie. A preview is a sneak peek at a movie that will be coming out soon. Best of all, they don't show too many of them. I hate waiting too long for the movie to start. So the big idea from that section is that the previews are also just the right amount. Ooh, wrong thing. I'm going to write previews just right. All right. Best of all, they don't show too many of them. The perfect place to sit is in the very last row at the top. That's where you get the very best view. So best view at top. Okay. The theater is really good about keeping up with new movies coming out. This week, the theater is playing a brand new movie. It's a movie my friends and I have been waiting to see. We're going to go on Friday after school. I would go to the Old Oak Theater every day if I could. So should you. Everybody jot a big idea from that paragraph. What big idea are you writing down now, Scarlett? What big idea are you writing?
I'm writing that the narrator and her friends are waiting to see a movie on Friday after school.
I think that's just a part of it there, Scarlett. I think you're just missing some of the big idea. Eliana, what do you think is the big idea?
I think the big idea is how the author thinks that it's an important theater, and
What is the author saying in paragraph 3 specifically? We're talking about the big idea from paragraph 3. The big ideas are all about the new movies coming out, right? So the big idea should be that they play great new movies. He thinks they keep up with great new movies all the time. So you never have to wait. All right. It says finally, so again, I'm hoping the city understands how important this theater is. It's not just nice for kids, it's good for the whole town. So this final line is really just it's the author's point of view. They're showing us what they really want the city to do. So I'm going to add this final annotation is that the narrator wants the city to keep OT for Old Oak Theater.
Angel, make sure your pencil's to paper, please. Thank you. Last reminder.
So now that I've finished reading through this text, I've got all the big ideas annotated on the side. I'm going to collect those together and synthesize for a big author mostly teaching statement. Track my screen so you can see how I gathered this all together. I started thinking, what's the big idea? What is the author mostly trying to persuade us to do? So I wrote this. The author is trying to persuade the reader, and in parentheses I wrote the city because they revealed that to us throughout the text, to not shut down Old Oak Theater. And then underneath I put 3 bullet points. Those 3 bullet points were the 3 main reasons the author used to support why the theater should stay open. The first is that they have great cheap deals, the seats are comfy with good views, and that they keep up with new releases. The point of view was pretty obvious to me when I was looking through this text, especially at the bottom of the text, the 4th paragraph, where he says, so again, I'm hoping the city understands how important this theater is. It's just not just nice for kids, it's good for the whole town. So the point of view is that the Old Oak Theater needs to be kept around and not closed. That is a clear point of view. Let's all make sure we have that down. So here is my fully annotated piece. You can see on my screen. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds before we move on to questions. Nice job, Isaiah. It looks great.
I know Joshua's done because his hands are folded, his eyes are forward. Great job, Joshua.
Awesome. Love it. All right, moving on to the questions. Let's flip to the next page so you can see the questions for today. Question number 1. Question number 1 says, how does paragraph 2 support the author's point of view in the text? So the first thing that I thought about here was investing in this question. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to show you my investment down below. See the bottom of my screen because I don't want to show you what I wrote yet. I started investing in this and I thought, paragraph 2, and I drew this arrow that connected to point of view. How does paragraph 2 connect to or support the author's point of view? So the first thing that I did after that was I wrote down, what is the author's point of view? Don't close the theater, right? So everybody invest along with mine. Make your paper look like mine. And then I wrote, for paragraph 2, I was like, okay, so what does paragraph 2 do? So I went back to paragraph 2. And I read through paragraph 2 and I realized that all of my annotations on the side had to do with the great deals, the previews, the seats. So paragraph 2 is all about reasons why they need to keep it open. So that's what I wrote. Reasons to keep open. So paragraph 2 supports the author's point of view in the text as it provides reasons to keep this theater open. Reasons why the theater is great. So in order to then move forward from that, I wasn't ready to start drafting until I found my evidence. I went back to paragraph 2 and I thought about the 2 big ideas or examples of why they should keep the Old Oak Theater around. I found this first piece of evidence here about the great deal on popcorn. The popcorn and large drink for $3, which is super great. If I could find this Old Oak Theater, I'd go there in a second. And then the last one is the perfect place to sit, is the very last row at the top. That's where you get the best view. I decided to go from the top to the bottom instead of going top and middle so that I could get evidence from all sides that frame that paragraph. So now going down to my question and the way that I answered it. So let's all track my text so you can see how I answered this question. It says, paragraph 2 supports the author's point of view in the text by providing reasons to support why the theater should remain open. I'm going to pause there for a second and say something to you. I wrote the number 2. I only wrote the number 2 because it said it in the question like that. So I kept the formatting of the question and my answer the same way. Normally, when we're writing out numbers, we need to write the word for the number if it's 10 or under. So for this, because it was with the question, I'm just going to write the number 2 because it says it in the question like that. Paragraph 2, now I'm starting to contextualize. I always want to act like or frame my own game plan here, thinking that the person who's grading my test has never read the text before. So I'm going to contextualize for them. I'm going to say this. Paragraph 2 begins with the author explaining some of the great deals at the theater. Now I'm going into my first quotation. There's a big popcorn combo. You get a large popcorn and large drink for only $3. Then watch me rationalize and then lead into my next piece of evidence. The author then goes on to describe the previews, mentioning that there's just enough as well as great seats. Pause there for a second. Notice how I didn't directly quote the whole previews thing, but I used it in a paraphrase as evidence and in my rationale. So I'm covering all of my bases in that paragraph and still using 2 pieces of directly quoted evidence. The perfect place to sit is in the very last row at the top. That's where you get the best view. Then here's my closeout. I'm going to wrap it up. These examples of how great the Old Oak Theater is help the author support their point of view that the theater should not close. So now that I've finished writing this, I'm thinking about making sure, double checking before I leave it and go. I want to double check to make sure I stayed consistent with answering the question. I bookended. I've started with my claim and I've restated my claim in my conclusion. And yes, that's all there. I've made sure to rationalize my evidence. There's a sandwich being built here. It's not just the text says this tells me, the text says this tells me. I'm being more authentic and contextualizing. Great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move into breakout rooms. And with your breakout teacher, you're going to go over question number 2. You're going to talk about drafting an idea for question number 2. And you're going to talk about drafting an idea for question number 2, and then going back and finding your evidence to support before you get into independent practice. So Ms. Mafia, whenever you're ready, we're ready to go to breakout rooms. Great. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna share my screen again with you guys so that you're on the right thing. I'm gonna share my TA with you again. You all have it? See it? Great. All right, we're on question number 2. Read question number 2 out loud for us, Jacob.
In paragraph 1 and 3, how does the author support the idea that the Oak Theater should stay open? Use
what do you-
two details from the text to
Great.
support.
So paragraphs 1 and 3. Question number 1 asked us about paragraph 2, right? So now this question is asking about us about the 2 paragraphs around it. Everybody go back to paragraphs 1 and 2 in the text, and let's see what 1 and 2 are doing. Paragraph 1 is doing what? What's the big idea from paragraph 1? Elijah? Unmute, Elijah.
The main idea of paragraph 1 is the narrator doesn't want the old Oak Theater to close down.
Right. Right. It's the best. They don't want it to close. And then paragraph 3. What's paragraph 3's big idea, Serenity?
Paragraph 3's big idea is how the movies are really good in the theater.
Yeah, they keep up with new releases. Great. So now let's go back to the question. It says in paragraphs 1 and 3, how does the author support the idea that the Old Oak Theater should stay open? So what can we say? What kind of draft idea do you want to use for this? What should our claim be? Jannalise, what do you think?
Of how it how it can inspire people to go to the movie theater.
So paragraph 1 is about the comfy seats and that it's the best, it should stay open. Paragraph 3 is about the current movies. So I would put those 2 ideas together, right? The first thing I'd need to do now, so I wrote here, as you can see, are you seeing my screen? Let's see, I'll do a stop share for now so you can see my screen. Notice my investment here. I wrote paragraph 1, comfy seats, and paragraph 2, current movies. So I'm thinking that, I'll go back to sharing that screen. So I'm thinking that, how does the author support the idea that the Old Oak Theater should stay open? Well, he does it by providing examples. Again, this is again the same kind of idea, but in paragraph 1, he implores the reader, don't close it because it has great seats. And in paragraph 3, he continues to implore the reader saying, don't close it. We've got current movies. They continue to bring in new releases, etc. Before we get into independent practice, let's jump back into the text and see if you can find a piece of evidence from 1 and a piece of evidence from 3 to support the claim that we're making. Underline the evidence that you find. All right, which piece of evidence do you think would be best for paragraph 1, Charlize? Charlize, you gotta unmute.
I am hoping the city board doesn't close the old Oak Theater. It's the best theater in town.
Okay, and then for paragraph 3?
From paragraph 3, it is the theater is really good about keeping up with new movies coming out.
Okay, great. All right, moving on then from there, you would string those 2 together using those 2 pieces of evidence, using authentic rationale, trying to contextualize what the author is trying to say, thinking that somebody who is reading and grading your test has never read this before, and so you want to do your best at contextualizing for them. All right, let's move on to independent practice for today. You're going to practice these same skills with independent practice today. The text is, again, a persuasive piece. So we're not using this as a story. We're thinking about this as a nonfiction piece. What is the author's point of view? What are they trying to get you to do, think, or feel based on the examples that they use? Okay. It looks like our breakout rooms are actually going to close in about 15 minutes. So we're going to do the best that we can to get it done in that time. If not, we'll continue it later. All right. So let's get to it. Stop my share. You guys can mute yourselves and then, yeah, get to work, and then I'll check in with you as you go. All right, Maddie, can you mute yourself and then get your pencil and paper to get started, please? Byron, your hearing issues, you're not on mute.
It's not that. I can't hear you. I can't hear what you're saying.
Well, now you can. You just heard me say that. Right? Are you just is it your headphones that's the problem?
No, now I hear you. I hear you now. I hear you now.
All right, mute yourself and then let's get to work.
Thank you.
All right, Deanna, stay focused. Maddie, let's get going. Pencil to paper. What's the big idea of this text? Maddie, unmute yourself. Tell me what the big idea is of this text. Were they trying to persuade you to think, feel, or believe?
About the benefits of sports.
Right, why it's good to keep kids in sports. Research has shown that participation in sports is extremely valuable for children. So the author is going to, the rest of this text, give you reasons to support that big idea. Make sure your annotations are always connected to that big idea. You can mute yourself again, Maddie. Rebecca, stay focused, please. Hope, stay focused. Jacob, are we still writing?
Huh?
You still writing? Oh, it looks like, oh, that's the problem. Your video was frozen. I was like, what is going on with Jacob right now? Okay, keep going.
What happened was I'm using the website.
And it's okay. Your video is just frozen and you were just paused and I was like, what is Jacob doing? You go, keep going. Byron, stay focused. Make sure those annotations are big ideas, collecting each big reason why the author supports their idea that sports participation is good for kids. I heard about 10.5 minutes left. Nice job, Hope, staying pencil to paper. Same to you, Serenity. And Elijah. Give me a thumbs up if you've finished reading the text and you're on your main idea chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of you, 6 of you. Great. Who can share out for me? Let's go with Serenity. Share out the main idea of this text.
For the author mostly teaching, I put sports and why children should participate in more of them. And for bullet points, I put it helps with their joints and physically. And for the second one, I put it helps with their self-esteem and making healthy choices.
Yeah, social growth was a big thing for them as well. Great. So 2 big bullet points or 3. You could have separated out the social and then you could have separated out. So both of those together were fine, or separating them out into 3 different bullet points. Great. What's the author's point of view then? Who wants to share that for us? Hope, go ahead. Mute. Mute. There, go.
Sports has many benefits to the to kids' childhood.
And it's important that they stay in sports. Great. All right, questions for today. Let's move on to questions so that everybody gets to those. You got about 8 minutes left, so everybody moving on to questions. Do question number 1 first, and then we'll check that in a minute. Rebecca, let's go. All right, question number 1. Who thinks they've got the right answer to question number 1 and how'd you get it? Let's go with yeah. That mute button is really getting us. All right, Deanna, we're gonna go to, oh, now you disappeared. Oh, there you are. Let's go to Jacob instead. Jacob, what's the answer for number 1?
For number 1, I got answer A. I've answered A for number 1 because it shows that it gives them an increase in self-esteem, making them able to do and react better
Let's stay
physically, socially, and mentally.
Let's back to work. We have scheduled break times. Try to keep your breaks to only scheduled break times. Let's sit down. Let's keep working, please. Come on. All right. Yeah, A is the correct answer. The others were a little bit tricky, but A is the best answer because it is we can find clear evidence from the text to support that one. So good. Great. Moving on to number 2, how does the author support the idea that participation in sports can have health benefits for children? What are we thinking we need to do to answer this question? Charlize, go ahead. There you go.
I think we need to do is we need to go back in the text, find some piece of evidence that can support the sports can help children in their childhood.
But more specifically, the question is asking about health benefits. So you need to go into the text to find where the author specifically names health benefits, not just self-esteem. Self-esteem isn't a health benefit. So find others. Hope, keep going, pencil to paper. About 4 minutes left. Elijah stayed working focused. Maddie, stay focused. Finishing up question number 2 in the next 2 minutes. Try to be done with it, and we'll share out someone at the end. All right, 1 more minute, and then we're going to share out one response. Byron. Hope is ready. About 30 more seconds. Hope, check your rationale. Make sure you've supported your evidence statements each time with an authentic kind of contextualization. All right, in 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, pencils down, eyes up. Let's do this. Let's have someone share out. Jacob, would you like to share for the group? Great.
Yes.
Then we're going to do it so you get speaker and that Jacob's big on your camera on your screen, and so we can see Jacob. Go ahead, Jacob. We're going to get kicked out in about 30 seconds, though, so go ahead.
The author supports the idea of participation in sports can be beneficial by showing the outcomes and what they learn from playing. The side effects of being active can change the way you may think. Quote, not only can it be fun and enjoyable, it is also good for them physically, mentally, and socially. End quote. It can also help them learn something that is important to life for children. Quote, children's sports learn about teamwork. Teamwork, in fact, can help children work out with other people in life and can make them very successful. In conclusion, the author supports the idea of participation by showing how they learn and the effects of it.
Okay, my only push for you on this there, Jacob, is that idea that is the idea that it's asking for health benefits. And this can be kind of tricky because it's not always the clearest, like what is health? Because sometimes we can consider our mental health and self-esteem as being health as well. So if we're going to get really like technical, we would want to have kept our evidence to being things that are physical health. So when they talked about the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, when they were talking about that, using them as a piece of evidence to help support would have been great. And then the one about girls as well, it says, physical fitness and sports reports, girls who are active have a healthier body image than girls who aren't active. That's another one. But that's kind of getting technical. I thought that your answer was good. You just kind of sometimes questions can be a little bit vague, and you want to be as precise as possible, specific as possible as you can. All right. I think we're going to get kicked out soon. Let's do this. Let's go leave the breakout room, go back to the main room real quick.
Angel, we're gonna have a break in like 3 minutes, so you wanna wait? Third bullet points.
Coming back, all my kids, you can close the breakout rooms. I think they were going to close automatically, so you can close